In this example today, we've copied over a table, a gallery. You see this gallery here? So we've basically copied over this gallery and we're recreating a new gallery here that looks very similar. So we don't want to redo everything, but we want to make sure when we copy this gallery over that everything transfers correctly. So let's go ahead, we're going to jump into that right now and just take a look at how to make sure that everything is transferring correctly, because if you don't have it transferring correctly, you could experience some considerable setbacks to your data. So stay tuned, we're going to jump right to it. So let's go ahead and take a look, see where we're at here. We're working with a gallery here. Whoops. As you can see here, I've got a screen called staff utilization, and here's my gallery, and you can see right here is my group where my gallery sits. Okay, so there's all the key stuff, and here's the gallery itself. Okay, it is important that you name things properly, but when you copy things over from somewhere else, do you notice how it puts the numbers? It's because everything needs to have a unique identifier. So that creates a problem when you're doing patch saves. Now, if this was just a normal form, it's usually not that tough because the form encapsulates all of the save process and you just do a submit form. But when you're using patch, which I am using so that it appears here, as you notice here, I want this to look like a spreadsheet so they can easily go through, adjust things as they want. Because it's done in that way, we use a command called patch. And if you don't know how to do this, you can pause the screen. It's pretty, I'm giving you some of the key attributes here as we troubleshoot through it, but you know, you can look at other videos that I have on this. So what are the two things that you need to do? First of all, when you're using patch, I always use a toggle. You could use any switch, but I use a toggle. So the first step you need to do is right here. So you need to basically say, is this field right here, the entry of this field, for example, task, that's a, it's one of these, note type right here. Is that equal to note type inside of the data that it shows right here? And if it's not, then it's going to turn the toggle to true. So here, for example, let's go ahead and just run this so you can kind of get an idea. Let's just take this out. Notice here that the toggle now comes to true. Now, I typically hide the toggle. Sometimes I leave it so people can see it, but it confuses users. So I usually just make it non-visible. But when I'm troubleshooting things, I usually keep it up. Now, notice here, as soon as I put that data back, okay, notice how the toggle goes off. And this is why it's important to understand that toggle. So let me go back to that toggle real quick. First thing you want to do is you want to make sure that all of these fields right here that are being edited, not these disabled, but the ones that are being edited right here, for example, right? Note type, that right there, note type 2.5. If we go down to toggle, we want to make sure that note type 2.5 is there, and there it is right there. So you just walk down through this, look at this, make sure it matches here. Now you can just highlight it. Whoops. You can highlight it, do a Control C to copy, and then go over here, do Control V, and then it's going to come right up and tell you, oh yeah, it's under there. So a lot of times that's how I do it. So I just take each one, go through make sure they're correct. Because if they're not correct in the data, you change it, all of a sudden, this is going to change data potentially in another gallery somewhere that you don't want to happen. So important that you check that. So that's kind of the first step. Check that switch that's going to give us a true false. Here, inside of save, this is where we're going to take advantage of that true false. Now, I just copied this over, hence the reason for this video, because this is a common mistake that I see people do. They copy these over and they assume that Power Automate, or excuse me, Power Apps is going to copy it correctly. For the most part, it does copy it the way we want it to be copied, but it does forget some of the details. So for example, the toggle switch, which in this case is toggle 1. Now again, I can look for this toggle just by doing this, right? And I can see that it's under my gallery staff utilization where I want it to be. It's the right one. But when it came in, it was toggle 1. Just a toggle 1. And this is where that true thing is, right? Where we're making the change. I just showed you that on the toggle. Then we want to make sure that we're patching to the right data set. In this case, we do this record, okay? Because we're in this record right here. The first thing there is this record, okay? Then we want to go down through here and make sure these are all correct. So you can bounce back and forth. I don't do that. I just go through and I just say, okay, text minute. I know that's the field. And now I'm going to do it just like this. And then I'm going to just go down through here and I'm going to look for staff utilization. I notice in staff utilization, I do have text minute needed, but it's _4. That's the one I want. So I'm going to say _4. And there it is right there. And I'm going to do that with all of these just to verify that everything is right. So again, staff utilization, notice it's _9. So there it is right there, staff utilization, gal staff ut, and there it is, _9. So if you're using a lot and kind of repurposing the code and copying it in between, that's what you're going to need to do. You're going to need to go and clean these up. Now these right here, these double slashes here, they just mean that that's not going to run. These are some flow stuff that I have, or that. Okay, so that's basically how you reuse a gallery, reuse code within your application. So you can see this looks very much like this. In fact, it's the exact copy, which looks very much like this. Okay, so one last thing I wanted to show you on the gallery here, and let's go ahead and just cancel out of there. We're going to look at this gallery here real quick. So if I just click on this, I don't know where that is. If I just click on one of them, it's going to show me, right? And there it is right there, gal passed. Okay, when I look at that, I can go down through here and notice here we have our search by columns. Okay, and then we have all this data. But what I wanted to show you was this is how to set this up. And I'll do another video on how to set this schedule up. But here, these switches here are just filters, right? So we just added to the search a filter. And you just stick it in there right there like that. So anyways, that is about it. Hopefully that will be helpful for you when you're copying and pasting. As you can see here on this screen, I have lots and lots of these galleries that I've copied over. Notice there I have gal today 1, 2, and 3. So I have to make sure that all of the data is going to the right places and double check everything to make sure that the data, once you change it, is actually going to save to the right place. Good luck.